Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday to you. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. I'm your co-host, Trey Holiday. And as always, you guys know I'm excited to do this with my co-host and yours truly, Big O. Happy Thursday, Big O. How are you?
Happy Thursday. I'm all right. You know what I'm saying? This has been an interesting week for sure. Like almost every week in 2020. I guess you just say this is an average 2020 week, but it's Thursday and we got a little throwback for Thursday. And man, thank God it's almost Friday to be honest with you.
I know. We're making it through the week nice and smooth. I'm enjoying it, man. So far, so good.
So far, so good. Well, I'm going to tell you so far, so good, but we got to get an update from Sade Smith. Sade No Chill. So Sade is joining us today. We also got some other live guests from Smash. The big Smash event is coming up this weekend, so we're going to be talking to them as well. Some of everything else. But Trey, I got to throw it out there, man. You know what I'm saying? Yesterday, and I looked at the minutes on it. It was 36 minutes. You know what I'm saying? It was funky yesterday, though, but that was something that we had to talk about. And especially, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I just want to be clear with this issue with we're talking about Chief Scoggins and this and that and the chop and all these other things. That's something that we can speak on. You see what I'm saying? Because we was there and everything else. Other issues, I'm not one that's been known to speak on, okay, what's the policy over here in Laurelhurst or in Magnolia or, in Lake City. But for something that was there and we saw with our own eyes, man, I'm going to speak on it if I don't think something is right.
Absolutely. And I think our audience really appreciated that. Yesterday we could see people comment and people texted me like, hey, you know what? You guys are on point. You know what I'm saying? I saw Chief out there every day. So really even the chatter from the audience actually showcased that people love that we were able to show that dichotomy and actually show that history.
Right. And this is the thing too. And being in a professional space, it's okay for two news or media organizations to disagree. You know what I'm saying? Chris Ingles and King 5 have their perspective and what they've shown of Chief Scoggins, and we have our own. And let's be clear, all this other stuff they talked about, Chief Best said this, we've heard all this before, no one can tell us who actually gave the order. The FBI says that, and they say indications, although it's the FBI, so they should be able to be like yes or no. All that's out the window. My issue was Channel 5, Chris Ingles, putting up this fire chief in his full dress uniform and a picture there of Raz Simone holding the fire and be like, oh, well, Chief was supposed to secure the building, but hey, that failed. And minimize not only Chief Scoggins, but all these other civil servants, their commitment during the chop. And they showed up, like I said, when other people didn't. And like I said, Chris Ingles, King 5, they have their position. Converge Media, we have our own position. It's okay for people to disagree, but I definitely disagree from how Chief Scoggins were portrayed by Chris Ingles on King 5.
Yeah, I actually am glad that you said something. I think there's something to be said, and I said this yesterday, but I really think it's true. And to drive this point home is that when you are a fabric of your community where you're reporting stories, it is very different than just reporting on stories that kind of hit this higher echelon and then you grab them. When you're down here and you're in the trenches as you were every day streaming live in the chop, you have that lived experience of how Chief was actually connecting with people on the ground. So you actually had an in-depth perspective and a lived experience you were able to shed light on that story. And that's, I think, why our audience really loves where we come from and how we develop stories.
Right. But the thing is as well, right? Taking Converge out of the picture for a moment. There was so many people in our community who saw that because that's been a common scare tactic. Let's scare the white viewers with some black imagery here. Let's scare these white viewers out here at XY. Man, it's an old trick. But the thing is, before there hasn't been any platform here in Seattle that can hit back immediately. So before it's just like whatever. And if people want to think that it's all, just some whatever and King 5 or Ingles thing or whatever, this was the same thing we talked about with Sean Kemp. We talked about with Sean Kemp cannabis. You know what I'm saying? Sean Kemp, black man, you know what I'm saying? He's part of this company, Main Street Marijuana, whatever percentage he's in there, so this isn't just, it's other King 5 or Chris Ingles. When we saw that press release that said Sean Kemp, first black cannabis owner in Seattle, all the other media ran with that narrative. It was only us and the South Seattle Emerald who was like, man, this don't even sound right, fam. And we dug deeper. We did a community voices about it. We talked about it and everything else. So it isn't just like, oh, you know, around CHOP or Chief Scoggins or something with the city or whatever else. Man, I'll be honest, we love Sean Kemp. But, you know, that narrative that they came was disingenuous. And what happened? We called it out. Sean Kemp Cannabis had to put out a second press release.
Yeah.
Because we were here. If we wouldn't have been here, what would have happened?
And this is what I'm talking about. I think when we talk about the importance of community media, this is why it's so important. Again, I want people to understand something. We're not pinpointing any one news station, as Omari is saying. This is really about the system, I think, of how news gets told in major media. News is looking for an audience. It needs people to click onto their stories. Unfortunately, because of this, it needs to kind of sensationalize a lot of those stories and get people emotionally charged so that they can comment, so that they can rev up, so that they can share the story. This is something that I experienced when I graduated college and entered into King 5. It wasn't just King 5. It is the way that news in this country is actually put out to the public. So I want people to understand a lot of those producers are good-hearted people, right, at these media stations. Unfortunately, their time is so limited to when they can turn these stories out that they only have a limited amount of time to take those stories off that major wire, change a few words, and push it out there for the reporter to say. So a lot of this is not in-depth investigative journalism. A lot of this is like, let's churn stories out because everybody else is saying this, so we can kind of say this too in a different way. And that to me is why these kind of mediums, Converge, Rainier Avenue Radio, South Seattle Emerald, The Facts, The Medium, these community mediums and community media is so important.
Yeah. I mean, what we see time and again, that if we don't say something, then a narrative will just continue onwards. And I'll just be honest with you. I mean, as long as we're here, you know, God willing, we'll be here for a long time. But, you know, as long as we're here, we're going to continue to monitor this, especially these things that impact our community. Absolutely. Especially this fire chief Scoggins, who's looked up to by little black boys and girls in our neighborhood and in our community, who's a mentor, who you'll find riding his bike with his wife there through the Central District and some of everything else. Before you think that you just going to throw this black fire chief underneath the bus, please believe that the black community's media is going to sit here and at least look at this story. Now, it could be, you know, it could be something else, a whole nother issue. Oh, chief didn't do this in a warehouse fire, whatever. Me, I don't know about that. But this CHOP stuff, I know about it 100%. And that's what I'm saying is like, man, don't come over here with this okie doke.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and you know what? I'll say this too. I'm happy to be a part of a machine that can do that, right? We can dig deep. We do have people that have lived experience. We'll pull them into the show and say, please share your personal story about this. So I love that we do that. And again, that we bring, great, solid stories to our audience.
Yep. And, you know, it's a diverse guest and diverse points of view. And we talk about right here on Converge. And I think that's another reason why our viewers appreciate that. On Monday, we had the chief executive of the city. We had Mayor Jenny Durkin talking about COVID and everything else. And we know that Mayor Durkin is on one side of issues on the city. And today, we got Sade No Chill, Sade Smith. Can we please add Sade to the conversation, Madam Director? Oh, there she is. Sade No Chill in the building. What's up, Sade? How are you this morning?
I'm all right. How are y'all?
Oh man, we are good. We both got questions for you. My questions are more on the exactly what's happening in specifics, and I know Treyana's got her questions as well. We talked to you a few weeks ago, and we checked in with you. And at the time, one of the big discussions was the federal government. The U.S. attorney filing charges against protesters here, and then also protesters still being booked into what for misdemeanors. still being booked into the King County Jail. And I know that the jail issue is now even more of an issue because of now what we're experiencing here in COVID. Maybe you can update us as to what's going on with protesters and the FBI and the U.S. attorney, as well as what's happening with people being booked into the King County Jail and other detention centers.
Okay, so with the FBI situation, what we've seen is that SPD has officers that work closely with the FBI and are kind of loaned out to the FBI. And just in reviewing documents, it seems like there's been communication regarding protest cases. It doesn't seem like there just has been. And so yesterday there was another case that was initially filed in state court that was sent to or filed by the AUSA and will be a federal proceeding. The concern is that previously, and I believe Dan Satterberg confirmed this, that the feds are now picking up charges that they didn't previously pick up, like arsons. And so what we're seeing is something that was normally handled in state court is being picked up by, again, the federal government. And that's a concern, right? Because you're seeing a disparity in prosecutions. Okay, why all of a sudden does the federal government have an interest in arson cases when they didn't previously? And what you see is that they're associated with protests. And again, these are just allegations, but it's extremely concerning, right? It completely changes the trajectory of what consequences could be. It's just a way bigger deal. So I think what's happening is the state is trying to downplay what people are up against, but please be considerate and understand that they know y'all's names, they know organizers' names, they know what's going on. It's just, federal government, again, impending on free speech. And I won't hesitate to say that. I think it is an attempt to scare people.
Well, Sade, I have a question for you. I mean, what is it that we, the people, because I know there's a lot of people who still are feeling like, no, I want to be able to utilize my voice. I want to be out there. I want to protest. I want to be a part of this movement. And now all of these kind of measures are providing this, these fear tactics. That is something that you talked about early on in the protest movement. What can people be doing kind of to combat this? Is that they should still just continue to fight collectively? What's the real answer here?
And I mean, unfortunately, I think the answer is to still fight collectively. What I hope to do is provide people with information and let them make the decision about what they want to do. But it's very important that folks realize that, there's information, there's a lot of technology tracking people on social media, how they're communicating, who they're communicating with, known associates. So when Satterberg was on and was previously saying that they're not that interested or kind of seemed to downplay it, I think that's inconsistent from what we're seeing. We're seeing community being prosecuted federally for things that they were not prosecuted for. And so just know that that's a risk. But again, anytime there's a social movement, there's always a pushback from the government, right? That's just consistent with US history. It's always going to do that. So does that mean we stop being part of the movement? No, that means the movement somewhere. So it's one of those things. It's like, I want to reiterate that community is everything. We don't get anywhere. There's no liberation without community movement. People are sacrificing their bodies, sacrificing everything. So I just want to I'm super thankful for that. But it's very important that people understand that Seattle Police Department is working extremely closely with the feds, and the feds are picking up cases they didn't normally pick up.
Right now, Sade, what's going on? I know that in general, you guys don't want jail for the police or things like that. But in this sense right now, what's going on as far as the detention centers, COVID, the booking of misdemeanors, and what the county executive is saying about the jail and what they're going to do there, especially since we're going into this surge period right now around COVID.
And what's been consistently happening, back in March, the county executive issued an order saying that people should not be booked into custody for misdemeanors. And you kept seeing that. Right now, we're seeing more protesters being released the same night. But it's important that even with arrests, right, there's contact initially that shouldn't be had. And that's a violation of social distancing. And what people are being arrested for is unlawful. You have, again, the right to protest. And so even if you're blocking a street, you have that right. It's clearly in the Seattle Municipal Code. It's clearly protected under the First Amendment. There's no exception for major arterials or yada, yada, whatever SPD is using as justification. So people shouldn't be arrested in the first place. Everything they're doing is completely legal. And again, what's happening is the arrests are leading to, fear. Like, okay, what's going to happen? If I don't protest, or if I do protest, is that going to be more of a risk for me to be, to get COVID? And that's legitimate. So the county executive needs to be, and I know they've been clear with SPD, but they need to actually assert authority over SPD and be clear that that's not going to happen. SPD needs to act within, it needs to be completely disbanded, let's be honest. But as far as short-term goals, if we want people to not start dying and continue to die from COVID, we need to make sure that government officials are abiding by the rules.
Absolutely. I know there was, as Omari was saying, there was a lot of adjustments because they were trying to kind of release that pressure in the detention centers and getting people released, right? And so I know a lot of people in the community were a bit concerned with that, but do they have another wave of that now that we're going back into this extended lockdown?
I'm not sure yet. And I assume that there will be some conversations, but even when the first wave happened, this is kind of a consistent conversation. They go for quote unquote nonviolent offenders and, like low level drug offenses. And let's be very clear, like the delineation between violent and nonviolent is extremely racist. And the reason why is because, there's a discretion with the prosecutor's office on what they charge people with. Black people are upcharged. We get charged for harsher things. We get charged for things that white people don't get charged for. So things might be considered an assault or something quote unquote violent, but it means, it's a delineation so they can let the people they want to let out and then keep the other people they want. And most of the people who are stuck in the King County jail are Black. And that's even with the COVID restrictions. And then we have the health disparity issue. So whoever they say that they want to release, it doesn't, it's like, it's, glittery words, but what's happening is white people are let out, Black people are left in. And again, the county is 6% Black, or Seattle's 6% Black, the county's 4% Black, and the jail is 40% Black. And it's not because we're supposed to be there. So they need to issue an order releasing everybody. There are a lot of people who are extremely high health risks. They're high risk in the high risk category for COVID. So, and this is what we're seeing also with Bureau of Prisons, with DOC, with Bureau of Prisons and DOC. People are really sick inside of those institutions and they need to be released. And so whatever roundabout or words that they give community to make people feel better, it's not going to have the direct impact of releasing Black people or any other people of color.
All right. So Sade, on that issue right there, what exactly needs to happen, or what exactly are you calling for to happen?
So the King County Jail, for example, it's $200 a night for everybody that's in there. And if what needs to happen, just like what needs to happen with the federal government, is people need to get resourced so that they can stay home, right? People are trying to go out and they want to work or they want to get services. Well, if people have funds to stay home, like a lot of other nations did, it's easier to convince people not to work. What's happening is what the government is saying is, risk all your, your future and your livelihood and not be able to pay your mortgage or rent, and everything's going to be, just deal with it. So I think that should be happening with what's happening in the jails. People need to be released and they need to be resourced so that they can be in safe places while we're waiting out this pandemic. If we don't do that, we're risking people. And mind you, the people in the King County Jail specifically are presumed innocent. Most of those people are not serving any type of sentence. It's pretrial detention. And so they can't post bail. So they're being held at ransom, and they're completely being kept against their will because the government has determined that that's what should happen because they don't have enough money. And so we see this huge, again, disparity where people, especially Black people, are being held in custody and our lives are being risked more than anybody else's. So if the government wants to protect people, what they'll do is, we saw the earlier stimulus check, but we would save a lot of money sending people home, sending people and putting people in, allowing for housing and resources and food and everything for safety.
Well, I love that you have some type of idea of how to do this better. How can the general public, it sounds like this is a lot of stuff that kind of, plays in the fight of like prosecutor, defense attorneys, like kind of the system. But how can somebody outside of the system, a regular person, put pressure on to ensure that there's some change here and some sustainable change?
Contact your council members. Contact the governor's office. They have, what the system likes to do is make it seem like it's too big to change, right? But what we've seen is that, when COVID hit, there was a stimulus check. I was like, okay, all of a sudden you didn't have all those bureaucratic barriers. When the George Floyd protests started, all of a sudden you had waves across, the country talking about defunding police, things that people previously said couldn't happen. And so again, putting pressure on electeds and community organizing. Nothing happens without community and a resourcing community. There's been so much amazing work that's been through mutual aid. And so I think that's the best way to go about it.
All right, Sade, I just had a quick question for you. I'm not trying to bring you into our drama over here, but I know Sade No Chill always has an opinion on something here. Sade, who gave the order to evacuate the East Precinct?
Oh, I definitely think the mayor and Chief Best were working together to do that. There were conversations regarding the East Precinct prior to, I believe that's what the story revealed. And then they said, oh, no, that's not going to happen. And then they, it was this whole ambiguous thing about a threat to the precinct, which obviously wasn't real. So I think that they work together to do it. I think right now what's happening is there's a lot of CYA language in media. I'm actually surprised Chief Best gave a statement, a recorded statement, because that could be used in litigation in the future. But essentially what was happening is, as far as the CYA goes, is that they couldn't say that they decided to do it before there was a credible threat, because that would make it kind of like a negligent response, right? And that's how you get liable in civil court.
That's against the city charter too. You can't just close a precinct just because.
Yeah. And what it's so concerning, because what they like to do is draw up this fear, like there's a threat to police, and police have not been hurt this entire time. Who's been hurt is community over and over again, and people, hearing loss and all types of crazy injuries that have been a response for that. And then also the stuff that's coming down just from exposure to the gases. So the real danger has been experienced by community, but I think I actually have very little doubt that it was Chief Best and the mayor working together. They decided to close the precinct. They did it at the wrong time and too early. And then when there was, people started marching on the mayor's house, then they wanted to respond and close down shop. There's a whole timeline we could go through. But
well, let me ask you this, because you do, and I thought that was going to be my last question, but I forgot I'm on the line with a lawyer. Now, the FBI in this report that came out yesterday, 2 days ago, the reporter there asked the agent from the FBI, and the FBI said there was indications of a threat at the time. Now, you're a lawyer in federal court and criminal court and all these kind of things. What is indications of a threat as opposed to proof of a threat?
Well, and I think that's it. It's again some of that CYA stuff. So they need to demonstrate, as far as city government, as far as county government, that the actions they were taking were legitimate. And so if the FBI is saying, well, there's an indication of threat, okay, there's always an indication, but it's so vague that is that legitimate? I don't think so. And I think that no matter what law enforcement authority is, especially the FBI, we should question everything they're saying. So again, and that's just from historical reference, right? What we've seen the FBI do in social movements, and how we see that the federal government is working to quell this movement.
Well, the FBI considered Martin Luther King Jr. a threat as well.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So there's an established history. But the fact that they say indicated that, I think that's pretty telling. They're not saying that there was an actual credible threat, because there wasn't one. Let's be real. The precinct was totally fine the entire time.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that, it was interesting, because for us, a lot of our coverage, and actually when we come back from break, Nikki Barron's going to be talking about COVID and everything else. We were really on this COVID story. And then we saw this other story there come out, and it was like, whoa, hold up. And especially to get emails. So let me ask you another question then. Because we saw that in this other report, they got emails, they got text messages, they got access to the chief, access to the FBI. If they can't find out who gave the order to vacate, then who can? Who can find this information?
I mean, I think a lot of conversations are being had face to face. I think there's an intentionality, because obviously government officials are aware that there's the ability to subpoena things, to do public disclosure requests. And so I'm surprised that much information was actually in the emails and in the text messages. And I think that will be the fact that the email was from the mayor's office that initially said, oh, we're working with Chief Best, but then they struck it out, indicates that there's a little bit of a, inconsistency about whose story is telling what.
Wow. Any other questions for Sade?
You know what? I probably always have questions for Sade. Sade, this is why I always think it's such a process, right? In terms of so much of what Sade has to push is on the inside. Then it's like, she's like, this pressure comes from the outside. I just want to thank you for all you're doing out there, man, because she's holding it down, man. And we appreciate you bringing your knowledge onto our set,
No, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you.
Yeah, that's Sade No Chill, y'all. And Sade No Chill definitely been staying on the job. Appreciate you, Sade, and we'll be talking to you soon. We're going to take a short break right now. We'll be right back with the Morning Update Show.
My parents coming over here as refugees meant that they didn't really have anything when they came to America. Having reliable healthcare and having a reliable doctor was really important. Cộng đồng của tôi, trạm y tế của tôi.
我的社区，我的诊所。Mi comunidad, mi clínica.
بلشدة هي بقارها.
My community, my clinic.
I can't take it.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. I'm your co-host, Omari Salisbury. Very happy to have you here this cloudy. I don't know. It was sunny earlier. It's kind of it's just a 2020 Thursday, to be honest with you. Previously there, last segment, we had civil rights attorney Sade Smith giving some insights on different things going on at the King County Jail in regards to COVID, inmates, protesters, and what an indication of a threat is as opposed to maybe an actual threat. Anyways, all that being said and done, we're going to move into our next segment here. We got super producer Nikki Barron. Where's Nikki at? There's Nikki. Hey, what's up, Nikki?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. How are you? And man, you know, this is always, unfortunately, you got the role now as the downer. And hopefully when we start going to you soon, you'll have the good upper information. But right now it's a downer because you got a lot of the updates around COVID, and what we're seeing right now isn't good at all, right?
Right, it's not good at all. So my first story here, I'm hearing some static. Is anybody else hearing that?
Oh, we're okay.
Okay, well, that's just me then. All right, so my first story here for our COVID update is from our friends at the South Seattle Emerald. So this article that they published yesterday was right after the city of Seattle had released had done a press release updating the city on what was going on. So what we found was that if the outbreak continues to grow at the numbers they're growing at the 1.7, 1.8, number, in a few weeks, they're going to be having probably around 150 people admitted to the hospital every single day in the state of Washington. And if we can get these restrictions in place and people abide by them, especially for Thanksgiving, that's not going to be our reality. Another thing they found is that after crunching the numbers, they found some statistics around the number, like kind of the percentages of a chance that somebody in your group may have COVID. So the numbers they released were that in a gathering of 200 people, which is at this time only allowed for religious services, there's an 85% chance that somebody in that group has the virus. 75 people, you're looking at a 60% chance that somebody has the virus. In a gathering of just 15 people, there's an 18% chance that somebody has the virus. And the reason that that's so important to know is that people don't normally get symptoms in the first 2 weeks. So someone is infected, asymptomatic, and that's usually when they're the most infectious. So that's when they're going to be able to infect the most people. So it's really important that we're staying home and we're staying in our family groups, in our COVID pods for Thanksgiving. And I didn't want to just be the downer, so I brought us something positive. And my next story here is I got from CNN, and that Zoom announces it will lift its timed meeting limit on Thanksgiving, which is November 26th. So it will no longer be a 40-minute limit on the free account. You can actually now go, I believe it's unlimited. So if you want to change your plans and try out a Zoom meeting with your family members instead of meeting in person, you can now do that for free with Zoom. So, not all the bummer stuff. I had one positive for us today. All
right. Well, you know, I think that with this COVID, man, it's weird because I don't know if there's just been so much media attention that people just don't pay attention anymore, or if we need to change the messaging on it, we need to remix something. But it just seems like a lot of people they're just indifferent to it, you know? And maybe, you know, and what's crazy, I saw something there on the national news where these nurses were talking about in people's dying breath. They're still like, yeah, COVID's it's a hoax. It's fake in their dying breath. And so I don't know how we in the media and as responsible community members can figure out a way to better communicate, like, what's going on out here, and to be able to make an impact in our community.
Yeah, it's such it's such a scary and meaty topic, and it's like this thing you can't see. So I think it's just our brains kind of make that leap. It's like just trying to handle and rationalize. I think it's easier to think that everything is being orchestrated by this, bigger, entity than it is that like life is just chaotic and nature is chaotic and sometimes things like this just happen. So I think that it's just our brains trying to make sense of it, and so for a lot of people the idea that it's a planned hoax is easier to wrap our minds around than the world is random. So it's scary, but I really don't know what else we can. I mean, maybe you guys can tell us some ideas here in the comments about the type of coverage you might want to see around COVID, and how we can support the community in that way. Because I agree with you. Like there's a lot of news coming at us fast about COVID, and I don't know that it's getting through to everybody, and so we really need the community to come together for this to be able to taken care of.
Right. And speaking of COVID and coverage and communicating with the community, I know you've been working on a COVID update show that's getting ready to launch. Why don't you tell the public about that?
Yeah, so we are working on a 15-minute COVID update twice a week in the evenings. We're hoping to launch that next Monday, so we'll see how that goes. But basically, what we're hoping to do is to dig into a different topic every episode and do a 10 to 15-minute interview with an expert in that area. So maybe it's dealing with COVID fatigue. It's understanding how the contact tracing works. Maybe it is, understanding how the incubation period works. And we're hoping that through this show, we'll be able to touch more people and hopefully convince more people to stay home and stay safe and stop the spread through education from experts in these areas. So yeah, in the comments, if you have questions about this, please let us know. And we'll try to find an expert to talk about it. You can also visit our COVID resources section of the website. Just head to the website. You'll see it there in the top at whereweconverge.com. And at the bottom, there's a form there you can fill out too. And it'll email it directly to me with your questions about COVID. And we will try to find the answers.
I just want to acknowledge your commitment around the COVID and COVID issue, and your commitment to want to get as much information out to the general public, but especially to our community and to marginalized communities here in the Seattle metro area. And it's like, people don't know, Nikki in her free time, Nikki goes and actually sews masks. Like we all got an abundance of masks over here because she sits and sews masks and some everything else. And one other thing I wanted to point out about this COVID update show that's launching on Monday is, yes, there's a lot of science and this and that, but put that to the side. It's also resources. What do you do now if you're again find yourself unemployed? Well, if you're an elder, and yeah, that's great that a grocery store has shopping hours, but what if you can't necessarily make it to the grocery store? What kind of resources are there for you, right? And so this show that's coming next week, definitely going to hit on the science and hit on some of the experts there around the coronavirus itself, but also be talking to experts on unemployment insurance. Also be talking to community groups that are kind of bridging the gap in the community to help our community members and our elders get the services that they need during this rollback, right?
Absolutely, yes. We've got some really amazing content coming out. We have partnered with public health on some episodes. We've got our resources over at Neighbor Care. We're also digging into other community groups. So if you know of resources for people during this time, leave those in the comments here or shoot me an email through that COVID form so that I can make sure I get connected with them, because I think nobody knows how to support community better than community. So please let me know what resources I can highlight.
Right. I was just reading the comments there while you were talking. Somebody said, put a camera there when they do a drive-up testing site so people can see what that's like when you go and do drive-up testing. Things like that we can definitely do. Jake Grabrot's almost 7 feet tall, but we'll see if we can get him into a small Prius and do a drive-up test. All right, Nikki Barron, as usual, first of all, thank you, appreciate you. But second of all, really want to commend your efforts and how you've doubled down and you've taken ownership or responsibility to want to be able to create more content and information for our community about COVID as we go into this lockdown period. So I appreciate you.
Absolutely, no problem. I think my boyfriend is tired of me talking about COVID now. He's like, okay, I watched the morning update. I will just get my updates from the show. I don't need you texting me being like, I just read this new fact or this. I think he might be COVIDed out. So yeah, not a problem.
Don't worry, we got capacity for you, Nikki. We're going to take a short break right now. When we get back, it's all about the smash. You're watching the Morning Update Show. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your man, the Big O. Want to take a moment here, first of all, to say thank you for your support of Converge Media. We definitely wouldn't be here without you. Secondly, I want to thank everybody who is a supporter of Converge Media on Patreon. We definitely appreciate your support. And for those of you might not know, I'll let you know, we operate 100% off of donations. Some donations big, most donations small, but we love all donations all the same. If you haven't done so yet, I want to encourage you to go on our website to whereweconverge.com/donate and subscribe. You click on the Patreon link and you can subscribe for as little as $5 a month. There's higher tiers beyond that as well. And just know that your subscription literally keeps us on the air. Once again, want to thank you for all your support. This is good. People can greet us with laughter. I wish we'll have an outtake show one day, and we're gonna wait until like you see Trey Holiday on some big national or international platform. We're gonna wait till you're on the BBC or something, and we're gonna release the prayer. Director, you agree? We're gonna make sure you press save on this episode, okay? It's gonna be a few years from now, but we're First of all, if we can go wide, welcome back, Trey.
Thank you.
It's good to see you again.
Yes, it's good to be seen.
Good to be seen. Okay, fantastic. All right. Well, you didn't miss much. Well, you missed a lot, but not, but Nikki's right here. So, all that same information's here.
I love the COVID updates with Nikki, man. And I agree. People are like, when does Nikki sleep, man? Nikki's doing it all. You gotta love when you call a producer extraordinaire and they do it. She does it all. I love that.
Yeah, and and the best thing is that Nikki, she when we talk about, especially when we talk about South King County and we talk about city of Skyway, and Skyway has the biggest Black population per capita of the whole state of Washington, and they're in King County, Councilmember Zahalai's district, and that's where Nikki lives as well. And so, when we talk to her about COVID and COVID coverage, it's like, she's going after it for her neighbors. You see what I'm saying? And it's real serious business to Nikki Barron, and we really appreciate her efforts.
Absolutely. And I think too that I love what she was saying, like, look, I'm just going to watch the show for my COVID updates. You don't need to send me articles. You don't need to do anything, because really a lot of people appreciate the COVID coverage we have. And I think coming from the community, to be able to talk to people in the community, that's important, because we understand what issues matter to them. And I also read in the comments, somebody was talking about the Federal Way testing site location.
Okay,
let me just
tell us
say
about
here,
it.
because I live in Federal Way, and that's where I got tested, was right near the aquatic center. So maybe me and Nikki can do a drive-by thing together where we do a piece, because I need to go back. You know what I'm saying? We always want to keep testing. But somebody said there was 889 cars there on Tuesday.
Let me tell you something though. And I mean, that's a lot of people coming out and getting tested and everything else. And maybe we'll play it. Man, tomorrow's Feel Good Friday,
Yeah.
But people might need to see this. Is that 889 people in the Seattle area in line to get a COVID test, 6,000 people in line in Dallas for a food bank.
Wow.
And so even when we sit here and we say that, oh, it's this and that, and I mean, it's always good to throw, it's easy target to throw city government, county government, state government under the bus. You know what I'm saying? Be like, you guys don't do this and that. Or even throw our economy and some of these other things under the bus. You got to think a city like Dallas, Texas, thousands of people are in line to get food. Food bank lines in the thousands across America. And here we're talking about 1,000 people are in line to get COVID testing that is free.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes you got to look at what's going on in these other places across America to be able to kind of gauge where we're at right here.
Yeah, we felt that with our voting too, right? I mean, people standing in lines for hours to vote.
Right.
I was able to fill my ballot out. You guys did a very cool piece. Well, all of you, I don't know what Bobby was doing with that tape.
Nobody knows what Bobby was doing.
All of you were ready. I mean, that's exactly what we showcase, that I do think that we do have a lot of greatness up here in Washington. It's another reason why Seattle's still the number 2 city for growth this year in 2020. Even with COVID, people were still flocking to move up here.
I mean, you got to think, if you were a voter, King County was definitely a place. Anywhere in America, this is one of the most efficient places to vote. Ballot tracking, some of this stuff, everything else. You know what I'm saying? I think it's Julie Wise. There's people King County elections. Man, if you're suffering through COVID, 13,000 vouchers have gone out for people who couldn't get groceries. There's so many things that are for aid on the city level, the county level, the government, the state level. COVID testing. I got people all over the country, man. They can't find a test, can't get a test, or it's this and that. There's so many testing sites here. And then, a lot of places where it was just drive up. City of Seattle was like, man, a lot of people don't have cars, and so there's walk-up testing and some of everything else. So I think it's important that the radar be up, or like, what's wrong? What's going on? Let's call it out. Man, we have to be fair. And that fairness also brings our humanity into play, because as your humanity puts you in a position to be able to be like, well, you know what? This is messed up. But you know what? That's not messed up. Right. So let's acknowledge the things that are not messed up. And we definitely do have some things that are working in the favor of the citizens here in Seattle and King County.
Absolutely. Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly, brother.
All right. So, man, let's talk about a whole lot more goodness. We're talking about SMASH, and that's the SMASH Benefit for Musicians Health. Director Alia, please bring our guest to the stage. Tomo. Denise. Is Denise coming up? Wow, there's Denise. Hey, Tomo. Hi, Denise. How are you?
Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
Are we having an Eva right now, too?
Where's Eva? Oh, is Eva there too? I didn't see. Oh, I don't want no beef. Look, me, I don't want no smoke with Eva. I'm just letting you know my screen right here is not on wide. So I didn't see you back there. I don't want no issues.
How dare you?
Good morning, SMASH team, and welcome to the Morning Update Show. How are you? Everybody's good?
Very good.
Good.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So first of all, over here at Converge, we know a lot about what's going on, but a lot of our a lot of our viewing public doesn't necessarily know. I don't know which one of you three is going to take this first question, but can you please let the viewing public know about Smash and the benefit and what it's all about, and who's benefiting from your efforts?
I'll go ahead and take that one. I'm Denise Burnside. I'm Smash's executive director, and Smash stands for Seattle's Musicians Access to Sustainable Healthcare. It's a mouthful. Our mission is pretty simple. Our mission is to keep musicians healthy. We were established in 2015. In 2017 is when our first services rolled out. And we've done hearing tests, so you get educated on where your hearing is at and get fitted for custom molded earplugs. We subsidize, which means we pay for visits to the doctor for preventative care and lab tests. We have an amazing dentist who does comprehensive dental work for our musician members. We instituted during COVID, so when COVID hit and medical services shut down unless it was an emergency, we quickly pivoted and we established mental health services. We know that musicians suffer from mental health at a higher rate than the average population. And so that was an issue before COVID, and then COVID hit, and well, we all know it all hit the fan. So we now fund a minimum of 8 mental health services per musician member per year.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Let me get some camera time over here. I wish people could have saw my face. What? Let me instant replay. What? 8 mental health sessions, huh? Man, I mean that was like good even before COVID and Seattle Pro. Like, man, I'm like, can you teach me how to play the guitar? I need to qualify for this. I need some mental health sessions for everything we've been through. Let me ask you this, Eva, as a musician extraordinaire and an amazing person, what is this like being on like the beneficiary side? I know you're in the community. What is something like Smash mean to musicians?
When people think of like healthcare, of course they think of like the typical like doctor's visits and stuff like that. But there's things musicians deal with that not everybody else necessarily has to deal with in their careers. Like, as Denise was saying, like hearing loss or, regular touring and stuff like that. And the mental health of touring. And so being on the, thinking about those kind of things that a lot of people don't do in other careers that kind of get overlooked. It's really important to be addressing these kind of issues and things musicians go through. And like, Smash will cover things like earplugs, like getting custom made earplugs, and then like health of your vocal cords if you're a singer, and these are all things that I have in my career that are all a part of my career. And so, it's just nice to have a spotlight on those kind of things during this, especially during this pandemic. We're not all done singing yet, and taking care and how to take care of our vocal cords. Believe it or not, there's a lot of singers that don't know how to do that,
You know what? I think you're so right. I just want to say hi, Smash team. And hi, Eva. It's been so many years. I remember you being on the set of Seattle when they were doing Seattle Refine, and we were showcasing you as a band.
Yeah.
I love those connections. So it's great to make a connection again. And I think that what you're talking about is so true because honestly, all of us need healthcare benefits. I really want to hear from you guys. How did you guys kind of formulate this idea and really create some solid solutions for musicians? Because I know that starting something like this was probably very difficult.
So one of our founding members, Ian Moore, who is the board president, is from Austin and is a touring musician. That's how he makes his living. And in Austin, they have HAM. So though we are not exactly like HAM, there is a well-established, very successful nonprofit that is doing something similar. So we had inspiration and the belief that this could be something that would work really well in Seattle.
Absolutely.
Right. And so now there's this event on the 22nd, and we're fortunate enough here at Converge Media to partner with everybody. And we're actually going to, wherever you're watching us right now in the Morning Update show, you'll be able to see the event. But can maybe Tomo, can you tell our viewing public what can they expect November 22nd?
Yeah, so Smash has paired us up, paired up a musician with someone else to work on a song, a cover song, and the show is called Songs of Hope. So yeah, I got to work with Dave Matthews. I know the Black Tones worked with Mike McCready from Pearl Jam, and yeah, we're just trying to bring a little light to the world especially during this dark week.
So if I look at this here, now this is wild. So Tomo with Dave Matthews, Mike McCready of Pearl Jam with the Black Tones, Chong the Nomad with Casper Baby Pants. I love that. Baby Pants. The Head and the Heart, Alan Stone with Whitney Monge, Duff McKagan with Shayna. That's your girl. That was what we were talking about. That Black Girl Magic, huh, over there. Aaron Jones, man, it's Aaron, Cameron Levi Jones, and Lupe Flores. Stephanie Ann Johnson with the Copper Trees, the Naked Giants. So man, I love these bands because it's always these names are always so dope. And Mirror Glass with DJ Lepster de Hoya, and Adra Boo and Nikhil V. Baga with the Smash House Band. I think what's dope about this, right? And you're Shayna's on here a lot for all kinds of different reasons. She stays in the group. But this was one of the things that Shayna was talking about. And, you know, the partnership there, the collaboration with Duff McKagan. And what I really think is dope and where Converge fits into this is like right now, we all need each other. You know, we're a small media outlet here. We're some lightweights trying to punch above our weight class, trying to do the best we can. And it's a struggle for us. And we got a lot of musicians out there who are it's amazing. And the thing about these musicians, Trayana, is there's so much that they're like, you know, birds that are meant to fly. And, you know, COVID has kept a lot of the musicians caged in and everything else. And so we always want to support whenever we can give a platform, because we want to see these musicians in our community thrive in their space.
Absolutely. That's why I'm so glad that we're doing so much around music and musicians and these collaborative projects. I think that when we talk to folks that are in the creative space, so much right now is revolving around each other. There's this kind of community that is really evolving as people really come together during COVID. I want to ask you, Ava, are you experiencing that as well? Because clearly Smash is one way, but I know that in terms of how Seattle artistry is really formulating and creating this kind of family during this time, I want to ask you how you're experiencing that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But I'm also kind of in a position that a lot of people aren't in, where I'm kind of in a good way forced to curate with a lot of other musicians, doing the local music show on KXP and doing a music video show, Video Bebop, where we reach out to these musicians and we're working together, putting together playlists and trying to promote artists and trying to curate. And Alia, who's on your team, is on the Video Bebop team, actually. And we are doing what we can to promote artists with the music video show as well. And so I'm kind of in this position where curation is part of, other than just performing, curating and working with other artists comes with what I have to do and want to do, you know, anyway. But yeah, and I have been enjoying this collaboration of, like, you know, these top names in music, like working with Rock and Roll Hall of Famers and local musicians coming together. And we saw the result of that with my brother and I doing All in Washington too, just being among some amazing names. And that's because people need to remember, like, it's not a class problem. It's not a status problem. Like, COVID does not care how big your bank account is. It's like, you could get the virus. It'll affect anyone. And it's kind of like, it affects us as much as it affects Mike McCready or Dave Matthews or Shayna Shepherd or Duff McKagan. You know, it's like an all of us problem. And so all of us coming together, it's a pretty powerful statement. But I hope I answered your question. Like, yeah, it's like having to communicate with all these artists is something that I kind of live to do.
Right. And I can tell you this, and before we get out of here, and I'm not.
Oh, you already got out of here.
We lost you, Omari.
Well, welcome now to the Converge Media Show hosted by Tomo, Denise, and Eva.
There we go. Am I back?
I was ready to take it over.
Yeah, you know what, Eva? I believe you can do anything. And I was getting ready to say here that the interesting thing is, I say you musicians stick together, right? Because, you know, I didn't see you in the window there, and all you was like, you know, she's sending me a message. What's up with Eva? What's up with Eva? I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't see it.
I heard all in the background.
Listen, I'm not messing with the musician mafia around here, man. You know what I'm saying? But like, just want to really acknowledge the fact that, you know, at Converge Media and us individually here, we really appreciate the efforts, you know, and it's whether it's this or we work with Big Building, we've got our Converge Music just trying to profile artists, and sometimes it's people just want to jam. And you know, for us here, we do what we can with what we have. We got some cameras and some mics, and if the least we might be able to do is just record somebody jamming, but you know, we're gonna do it, or we can stream them live, and you know, and everything else. So I just, man, I'm really, really appreciative of you guys. Denise, before I let everybody go, please tell everybody again about the event on the 22nd and what they need to do.
All right, on Sunday, November 22nd, this Sunday at 4 p.m., you will be able to find our the live stream for Songs of Hope in a number of places. A lot of the artists are going to be cross-posting it on their Facebook pages, but Amazon Music has partnered with us to enable as much exposure for their artists as possible. And so it will be on their Twitch page, on Amazon Music's Twitch page, and Amazon Music's Facebook page on Smashes. I know that both Tomo and Ava are doing it on the Black Tones Facebook page and Tomo's Facebook page. So please join us, support the artists, support Smash so we can support artists. And we hope that we bring you a little bit of hope and joy.
All right, Denise, Tomo, Eva.
Bye, Omari.
I respect the musician mafia. It's so appreciate you guys. But one last thing is also you can catch everybody right here on Converge as well. You know, across all the pages. So you don't have a reason not to watch. So you can catch this thing everywhere. Appreciate you guys. And man, we'll be tuning in on the 22nd. You're watching the morning.
Thank you.
Bye, Alia.
Bye, Alia.
That's the Dons. You're saying bye to the Dons. And then, yeah, there it is. Woo! It came back smoking. You know what?
Welcome back, y'all.
It's gonna be smiling on set, but you know, I think this is the thing. I always tell people, it's like, man, midnight press reset. You know what I'm saying? It's very few things that I carry through the next day. You know, you be funky about it. What is funky though? Like if you see me on something for like 3 days, I'm like, oh man, it's serious business. You know what I'm saying? It's extra funky. But it's real good to be out here. It's Throwback Thursday, and actually, I had a longer clip that I'm gonna save till next week, and I got this one already that I'll save till next week. And really, when we talk about us, even me and you, can we play? Trey, you got 5 minutes?
You know I got it, man. Come on, man.
I gotta figure this one out. So I want the audience to bear with us here because it's what we call a screen share. It's through a different program. So a year ago, And the lower third is there. It says December 14th, 2019. I was on my way to Lagos, Nigeria. Walter Jones came and said, Flowers, etc., the only Black florist in the whole Pacific Northwest. Flowers, etc., she got an eviction notice. There's no business. There's no flowers happening. And Flowers, etc., she had 13 days to pay up or quit or whatever. And on the way to there, I remember I talked to you, talked to Walter Jones, talked to K.Y. King Garrett, talked to Curtis Calhoun. And it was like, man, the only way that we could help Flowers, etc., stay in business was let people know. And in record time, and I look at it now, because, all these guys is big time. Like, all is, big time. And Bobby Stills with the Zedadid and Nikki Barrett. This is me, like, on iPhone and some other stuff. But, wrote an article and everything else. But we put out a story. And this is what I'm saying is like, and just giving people some contrast. Yes, we kind of came to the defense of Chief Scoggins, the other day or yesterday. Yes, we call out something here with these marijuana shops, but yes, also, in our community. And so this is the Flowers, etc. clip. This was the plea for help that we put out for people to know what was going on because she was about to get evicted.
The public must know that I'm the only Black-owned florist on the Northwest Coast. And I did go to school. I'm a professional at what I do.
How long have you been in business, man?
Since 1984. The main issue is sales. It goes back to when I was at 23rd and Jackson, when the city started their project of the North Corridor, I guess they called that project. It lasted about a year and a half. And during that period, it was very hard to make a good day wages. Because the way they had the street blocked off, people couldn't get in or get out. So we tolerated that, and they finished the project, and they gave us $25,000, which was no money because I lost 60. I was doing quite a bit of work for Southwest, and then Bonnie Watson bought that, of course. And then one day, the owner of Bonnie Watson came to my store to inform me that there was going to be he said it wasn't going to be any changes. Well, a couple months down the road, there was changes. He comes back into the store and let me know that, we're going to make a few changes. We're not going to be using your service any longer. So it turned out I didn't get no work from Southwest whatsoever. So when the Black people go for their services for preparation, they don't consider me at all. None, zilch. Because when they would have family funerals there, that we did lots of work for Southwest Mortuary. But Bonnie Watson took over? No, because they have a flower shop also. They lease out. So quite natural. He's going to help his guy to run that shop. So he took my business and gave it to this guy. So that put me out on the block. Some days we don't make any money. I'm here, but there's no sales. And it has gone to the point where the landlord is falling behind with his rent because I'm not making any money. And so I have to move. They said money in 14 days or evacuate. But it really hurts me. I've really put a big dent in my savings for my retirement savings because I didn't really want to close the door, but I had no choice but to dig into my savings and try to stay afloat as long as I could. So here I am talking to you, looking for help.
All right, what do you want the community to do?
I want the community to be a little bit more supporting, to know that I'm still in business. I still sell flowers. And I do think my community should give me the first option. And if I never dreamed I would be confronted with a situation like this. But here I am. So now I'm reaching out for help. I don't want to give up my company, but I may have to. If I don't have this landlord's money in 14 days, I think I'll just have to pack up, put my belongings in storage, and just go home. That's what all I got to say. I just looking for support. And I just got to get more money in here to keep the doors open. Just to come down here to sit. And do paperwork. That's not why I'm here. I'm here to design, make things beautiful and lovely for the community. And that's what I like to do. That's what I do best. So that's what I want you to know. Things are not good for me right now.
Wow. I mean, honestly, that really takes me back to that time of real community resilience. What we saw after this clip hit the airwaves and everybody in the community was aware was real community support. We understood that this business was important to our culture, to our community, a Black-owned flower shop in the Central District. And literally, people poured into this campaign.
Yeah, she was the only Black florist, like certified, whatever, in the whole Pacific Northwest. And the community came together. She had a 13-day notice, and she was behind $6,000 on her rent. And the community came together, and they raised $30,000. I only bring this clip up because, we get the people who's like, Omari's talking about protests. And Omari's talking about, this and that. Nah, my friends, we've been looking out for our people well before all of that. I told you, worst come to worst, our people come first. Absolutely. And we've been doing our part, holding it down for our folks. And that day, I was rushing to the airport. Like I said, I was on my way to Lagos, Nigeria. And Walter Jones, God bless you, Walter Jones. Walter Jones came and said, man, Omari, the only way that we can help save this woman is if y'all put some media out there. And he sat there looking at the clock, and we went there and we shot this thing and everything else. So people, you might be a new viewer, you might be new to Omari Salisbury and Trayana Holiday, but what's not new is our commitment to helping people in our community well before the Seattle protest, well before COVID-19. You know what I'm saying? We've been trying to do our part.
That gave me chills and I could cry because we love our community so much. And honestly, that's really what established this family so cold, so deep. The ties run deep. We care about these stories because they're a part of us. They're a part of our lives and our lived experience. So we thank each and every one of you for supporting us, for donating to us, for watching us, for sharing us. We so appreciate you because we care about these stories in and out.
There it is. Trey Holland, let's go wide out here.
Time to
get out. I got Trey on overtime. That means we got to pay her triple time. So, all right, today is Thursday. Do we got any programming notes? Yes, they all went on break. They ain't even out there right now. I think we're good for today. Any last words before we get out of here?
Make it a great Thursday, y'all. It is Friday Eve. Celebrate that.
Yeah. It's 12/11. 12/12 is officially my Friday. We're ready to get out. Hey, once again, appreciate everybody. Appreciate your support. Appreciate all of our Patreons, our supporters, and everything else, man. You guys make this possible, and we do it for you. So until tomorrow at 11 a.m., peace. Lift every voice and sing. Dealer than heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the
dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day.